first thing you're gonna want to do is go where the light is. This is just gonna help you get a better exposure on your photos, and generally you're gonna be in a better situation with lower ISO film stocks, like let's say Ektachrome that is at 100. When you have a scene with lots of light, you're gonna be able to get a well-exposed photo in case the scene wasn't well lit or cloudy day. Maybe your photo could possibly be underexposed, and especially with a film stock like Ektachrome, you really want to be nailing your exposure and getting the photo to be correct. And yeah, you're gonna need light, and if you don't have sunlight, you can always get a flash. I would really recommend getting a flash, one that you can just put on your camera on its hot shoe, or you can have one handheld. Both will be fine, but yes, getting light and going where the light is your best option when doing street photography. That would be really vital. But on the topic of flashes, there are many flashes that you can get out there that will really improve your work in street photography. I will really recommend to consider picking up a flash. I've seen some Godax flashes that seem really nice that you can have on your hot shoe of your camera, but also handheld. And the flash that I'm using at the moment is the Contax TLA one, the 200, and I think that does an amazing job, and it's so compact and a great size for a flash while still giving you amazing results. And it's not overpowering, it's perfect, honestly. And I just put it on my contacts and it shoots through the lens TTL, which means all I need to do is point the camera and shoot it, and the exposure and the flash will compensate for each other and get a perfectly exposed photo. And most of the time that's so convenient, and I don't even have to worry about being in a situation or in a scene that's well lit. So that's a major benefit of using flash in your photos and in a street photography situation. And most of the time my setup is very light as it is, so it's not an inconvenience to be bringing around a flash, especially if you get a compact one, or maybe one that's handheld that you can just hang around your neck and you'll be good to go. But yes, on the topic of going where the light is, usually when you're on the street, every corner will be like a safe haven for a place to camp and wait for a subject to come in your range. So I've seen it many times where they're just at a crosswalk and they're positioned on a way where people will be coming into them. And hopefully if you have this and also a well-lit scene, all you'll need is to press the shutter and take your photo, and just wait for the subjects to come to you in this scene that's well lit and has light. Will be perfect for street photography, and that's essentially how you work a street. the next thing you should keep in mind are techniques, and there are many street photography techniques out there, and you can incorporate many and find out what works for you. I've seen some people just be really confident out on the street and be able to get in people's faces or bring the camera up to their eye and take the photo that way, but maybe that won't work for everyone, so maybe you can be more stealthy and take that approach, shooting from the waist, zone focusing, or if you had a waist level viewfinder, being able to focus like that, that's an option to be more stealthy. And yeah, you can also take the approach of being like a tourist or playing dumb almost, like fiddling around with your camera and not really giving off the language that you know what you're doing, like you're just a novice basically, that people shouldn't be worried about you, so they'll just go on with their daily activities because you're just practicing, or you're just fiddling around with the camera. You're not really making any work, or so you could play dumb approach. And I've seen people just fiddle with their camera, pretend to take a photo of something, and just play it off cool, I guess. And I've seen it where people are trying to take a photo, but it seems like they're just adjusting their camera. Maybe they're finding their focus. Meanwhile, you already took the photo or something, or you're waiting for the right moment. But yeah, that's one approach. There's multiple ones, but I've heard to get close. That's one of the big rules that I've heard in street photography, is just always get closer, and you'll get an interesting subject that way most of the time. But if you know any other street photography tips, feel free to comment them in the comments. But moving on, another tip that I thought of is, if you don't directly approach your subject but instead walk in front of them, I found it that works out really nicely in these birds. But I found out that this works really nicely, and it's almost like you're accidentally bumping into them but not actually touching them, just walking in front of them, so it seems like you're just changing direction, but in reality you're walking in front of them, taking their photo, and then continuing, instead of bringing it up to your eye and then them being able to realize that you're just taking their photo because you were walking and then you just stopped in place, brought the camera to your eye and took a photo of them. Instead, you walk in front of them and have it set and take their photo and keep walking, and most of the time they don't realize that you just took a photo of them. So that works out really well in a street photography scenario. I also really like this technique because when you just stop when your subject is coming towards you, you're usually not in front of them, you're usually off to the right or to the left. But when you walk in front of them and past them, you're going right, so the subject is right in the middle, which I really enjoy. I find that to be more a pleasing composition rather than to be off on the left or right. But definitely experiment with this and figure out what you like and what you want out of your photos. Lastly, just being kind and being polite goes a really long way, and just saying please and thank you really goes a long way when you're doing street photography. Most of the time people are pretty understanding of what you're doing if you just explain to them your situation and that you're producing photos, and it could be for even a school project or just personal work, or just be honestly, and most of the time people will be understanding. But yeah, that seems to be the main priorities of how to work a street and how to improve your skills in street photography.